today. I'm over at Crosswalk upstairs working this afternoon before we have after school ministry. And so wanted to shoot out the video for this week. Um, can't have it be too late, 2 weeks in a row. So we are in Unit 33, Session 3. Unit 33, Session 3. And I love this passage. And honestly, like, you could spend multiple weeks on this passage, and it's probably not giving it the time that it deserves because it's just such an awesome passage. And so it is Galatians 3, 1 through 6, and then we'll look at verses 10 through 14, and then finally verses 21 through 26. And one thing that you have to be able to appreciate about Paul, who wrote nearly half the books of the New Testament, is that you can appreciate his honesty and his transparency. He tells it like it is. In this context, he says, "You foolish Galatians," right? That's how he starts the chapter. So you can imagine them reading this, and they're kind of like, "Oh, this is not going to be a good one," right? So let's talk about a few things. Number one, why was Paul mad at them? Why was he? Why did he call them foolish? Why was he struggling with this? Well, Paul was disturbed by how quickly they had gone from grace back to the law. They received the knowledge of God, the salvation that God's provided to his people through faith, right? It's by grace through faith, right? So they've received this gift, and then immediately they tend to turn back to the old covenant and the law, and he begins to ask these rhetorical questions of like, did you receive the Spirit by the works of the law or by believing what we've told you and what you've heard, right? Believing the gospel. So that's the first thing. And very quickly, we can be people that love to return back to our old ways. And this was the same for the Galatians, right? They had gotten rid of this law-based system where they had to obey these laws to maintain righteousness. And they said, you know what? The law can't save you. Right? God said this, the law can't save you, but this gift of salvation can. And so they turn from grace, they turn from the good news of the gospel, and they begin to judge one another and hold themselves to a standard that is more in line with the old covenant rather than the new. So that's kind of the heart of those first 6 verses. The second set of verses 10 through 14, he begins to talk about the curse that goes along with that with a person that tries to attain righteousness through the law. And let me clarify this. Righteousness through the law is this attempt to just obey all 611 commands in the Old Testament. And that's problematic, one, because it's impossible, but two, it's almost this man's understanding of how to be right rather than God's. Now, God gave us the law. He gave the law to those in the Old Testament, and I'll talk about here in a minute that the law is not pointless. However, once you receive the gospel, like, you're set free from the law. You're set free from the law. But he talks about that all that try to follow the law are under a curse, because man's works, we understand, even our best is filthy rags. Our best is filthy rags, and so what he's saying is that Jesus became that curse for humanity. He became that curse for us so that we might walk forever with him. There's a verse in the Old Testament that talks about cursed is one that hangs on a tree, right? Jesus literally became that curse. He hung on a tree for me and for you, so that we would not have to pay the price of our sin, which was death, right? It's the gospel. And then these last 5 verses, verses 21 through 26, Paul portrays the law as a guardian. He makes the statement, he says that the law was never meant to save you. Galatians, the law was never meant to save you. Rather, it was meant to be a guardian of your hearts and of your minds and your bodies until the faith came, which was Jesus, right? Till the gospel act of the crucifixion and the resurrection was able to take place, right? So by no means do we look at the Old Testament and say, oh, that's not for us. However, the laws and the commands that are within the Old Testament, they're simply just a guardian. They kept us safe until the gospel came. They could save us. And if you might also have a kid ask the question of like, well, hey, did Moses go to heaven or whatnot? I believe he did. I believe that it says that you were saved through faith, right? That's Hebrews 11 tells us by faith these men did this. And so that might be a question that comes up too. So I'm under 6 minutes. Hallelujah. I'll stop now before I get too long. But thank you guys so much, and we'll see you this Sunday.